Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, welcome everybody to part 3 of the extravaganza, bridging our nutrition and our chefs and all things wonderful going into the holiday season. I'm thrilled to welcome Nyree Dardarian and Rachel Muse to part 3 of our series here. And Nyree, Rachel, I've been waiting for this all week, so I'm just going to hand it straight over to you guys to get going. So welcome, and let's get into it.
Cam, thank you. We are so excited, and we're ready to jump into this. I think that this is going to be fun. We have a lot of our students who have participated with all the things that we've been doing, especially our farm to athlete program, which is really like farm to pitch. You know what I mean? We're really dealing with the whole football environment. And I'm just going to say football because you know what? We're going to jump right into the culture. We're not going to use the American culture here. We are jumping into the UK. Are you good with that, Rachel?
I am, because then I don't have to remember to say soccer every time I want to say.
Perfect. You leave it to me. I'll remember to say football.
Okay. We can tolerate each other's slips if there are slips.
We will figure it out. So welcome to everybody. We are really excited to get to this third part of this program. And part 3 is you learned about the science of sports nutrition. You learned about in session 2 with Rachel, what is the responsibility and role of a good private chef in a performance environment. Now we're going to talk about our relationship and how that needs to be developed and how that is something that really needs to be thought about a little bit more as we move forward, because there is this translational aspect to what we're talking about here. So we might say eat 40 grams of carbohydrate, but who can make 40 grams of carbohydrate? That would be Rachel. Okay, so Rachel is to the right of me here, so that's why I'm going this way. She might be the other way for you, so I'll go this way too. Rachel. Okay. All right. So I didn't update the slide, but I'm just going to tell you that there are a lot of people here today and we have a whole panel. So I kind of started writing this, and I have to admit, it is my birthday today. And I jumped into a couple of glasses of wine, and I completely then forgot that I needed to update this slide. Okay. Just like to put it all out there right now. But we do have a lot of special guests here. So I am going to introduce, I don't know if Becky is here. Becky is she on by any chance? Okay, no. So
Becky is asleep now.
Okay, all right. Well, Becky is asleep, but Becky is Rachel's right-hand person. They developed their whole program together. Their company called, here we have it right here, Talk, Eat, Laugh. They are private chefs in a professional for performance, so professional chefs in performance. And I think that that's a niche that needs to be developed more, because a lot of people can call themselves a chef, but just because they're a chef doesn't mean they can cook for a professional athlete. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. In addition to that, I have Kelsey Frank here and also Andrea Irvin. So they are both the assistant directors for the Center for Nutrition and Performance, and a bunch of people who came on this trip with us. So I have Stephanie Tallarico. Steph is an alumni of the Drexel Nutrition Program. She came back to take this trip with us to the United Kingdom to really get our hands dirty when it comes to talking about performance nutrition and culinary art. I don't know who else is here right now, if Alex is on or Sophia, or they might be joining us later, but there is a group. So that's our shortened list. So our goal really for today is talking about what is this bridge between nutrition education, which is what the nutritionist does, and the plate, which is where the food comes in, like what is on this plate. So our themes are, how do we build this collaborative approach? Because a lot of times we see, the dietitian is with the athletes out on the training field, and the culinary performance chef is in the kitchen, but how do we bring them together? How do we talk? How do we make this bolder and bigger? So we want to bridge this gap. And Rachel says this best. I love Rachel saying, which is nutrition for sport and looking at the food on the plate, because that's what matters. And like she said last time, people can tell you a lot of things, but when you walk in their house and you see what they're really eating, or what you're putting in front of them, it changes everything. So we're going to be discussing a little bit about that. So one of the things that we do best here at Drexel as well, because Drexel is a co-op school, we believe in this. Application is through immersion. So, you know, all the students are immersed in one of the best places in the world. I wasn't here that day because, believe it or not, December 15th, 2019, this is where we were. And they were in the tub. Well, I won't call it a tub, the pool in Bath, United Kingdom. I left so I could be with my family on my birthday. And I didn't get to experience this immersion, but I did get to experience the rest of our immersion. But they're not cooking. This is not a Drexel student soup. This is our students involved in our program. So this is the very last day that we were out in the United Kingdom, and Rachel and Becky so kindly kept up the the rhythm of our trip, kept up the pace, and we're able to hang one more day to get them to this relaxation. So when we're talking about immersion, we mean get in there. You don't know what it feels like until you're in there. And that comes with everything when it comes to sports nutrition, and also from Rachel's perspective as a performance chef. You need to be in the house, you need to be in the training center, and you need to be in the pool. You need to be where it is, and you need to feel it in order to be able to really understand what's happening. Rachel, do you want to add anything here?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I'll just talk very briefly about a client who very recently joined us, and their nutritionist, their dietitian, said, I just can't figure it out. Their body composition is not the way that I like it. They have a great family set up. Their partner, their female partner, does, you know, a great amount of cooking, a really good cook. Blah, 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 blah. And then you spend some time in the house, seeing what goes on, cooking for them before I hand over to the chef who will cook for them long term. And yeah, the partner is a great cook, really, really, really good cook, doesn't cook vegetables. So sit down to a meal and she cooks, and she doesn't cook sauces either. So she cooks a nice piece of protein, a huge amount of carbs, no sauce. The athlete likes sauce. So what does he do? He goes to the refrigerator, gets out the mayonnaise, uses mayonnaise as sauce. And then afterwards, he's hungry quite quickly because even though he's eaten quite a lot of calories, it's not particularly filling, not a large amount of bulk in his stomach, and then just eats chocolate all the rest of the evening. And so, yes, the partner is a very good cook, but she's not cooking the right things because she just doesn't like to cook vegetables. To her, vegetables are a waste of time. Like literally, you've got to chop them, you've got to cook them. It wastes her time. So once you have a private chef in there cooking for them, all it really needs is a lot of vegetables, a proper sauce that's not mayonnaise, and then a small amount of chocolate with a large amount of fruit. Everyone's super, super, super happy. And the nutritionist couldn't figure out what was going on. Everyone was saying, yeah, but the wife cooks or partner cooks. You don't see what happens until you see what happens. You've got to actually see how it plays out and then realize, oh. So it's, you know, as you say, immersion. You need to be in that environment to understand what's happening in that environment, because everyone's got little different pieces of the puzzle and they'll tell you this, but you don't see it until you see it.
So true. Yeah, thanks, Rachel. So those are the things that we get to explore. And also just being a part of this program, you get to dig in and be a part of the day-to-day. What does it take to be in the home of a professional athlete? And how do you translate the nutrition education, the science to the plate? And I think that that is something that we really were going for. And of course, the whole global experience. I mean, we know we all like to travel. We know we want our kids to travel. We want our students to travel. And so this was so fabulous to be able to take this little hop over the pond for a quick 5 days and just feel like we're a part of the culture. And that's exactly what I think every student who was on the trip felt like. Like we came back with accents, okay, just to tell you how immersed we were. I still tell Andrea, stop it, okay? You are not Madonna, stop it. But she always tries to throw in this little accent every once in a while because her husband is from the UK. We get it, Andrea. Okay, so we had pillars of this. The pillars of our program included mentorship. We wanted a dietitian, a professional, to be matched up with a student who was in the field. We wanted them to collaborate throughout the trip to experience the culture together, but also be able to learn from one another. We had this whole idea when we were putting this trip together, which is we wanted participants to engage from the farm to the table, this culinary approach, to be able to see, like, what do these athletes in the Premier League, what do they need when they get there, when they're hearing advice from so many people? How do we get them to engage with the performance team that includes a personal chef and a nutritionist? And how do we collaborate this? We wanted our students to experience this through mentorship. The nutritionists that we had along on this trip, they're professionals, they're working in the field, but they wanted to explore something a little bit deeper that they haven't been a part of, which really only a fraction of nutritionists and private chefs get to be a part of, which is this inside world of the EPL. I mean, this is big time, big time. Who gets to see this? Rachel does. So that's why we jumped on our wings and we flew over there so we could feel what this feels like, so that we would be prepared to be able to translate that to the United States, but also just have that wealth of knowledge with us and carry it with us no matter what field we really pursued. So how does the whole thing start? We arrive in London and we get picked up by our own Becky. Becky was the driver of this incredible van for the time that we were there. And Becky is a dragon. Okay, so is Rachel. So right here, I wanna take a pause. I want everybody to see each other, to really think about what's happening here. We had this whole great setup, but what's the real mission of this? Where are we going? Like what are you thinking? What questions do you have? Because we're talking about this big breadth of knowledge, and we're focusing in on this little niche, which is sports nutrition and professional performance chef. So this is the buildup to something that's yet to come. So up until this, we're preparing, we're planning, we're thinking about, what does everybody want out of this? What are your thoughts on all of this? Does everybody really get the big picture of what we're trying to merge? Because this is something that has not been merged. There is nowhere that this has already been merged. Do you get the grasp of it? Does anyone want to add anything?
I think from a very practical perspective, how did you guys connect? I think that's one of the first things, Nyree, just in terms of the broader conversation of what was it that brought you and Rachel together to begin to have these kind of conversations.
Cam, that's a great question. I'm gonna let Rachel take this. Come on, Rachel, tell the story.
Nyree, I think you found me on LinkedIn, yes?
Yes.
Okay, and it was one summer, it must have been 4 years ago. 4 years ago, and I was working in the south of France for a lovely French family who I've worked for many years. Yeah, absolutely charming, beautiful French family, and it's three generations. And we were talking, like, messaging, saying, this is great, what's your interest, what's your field, starting to connect. And then we scheduled a day to talk. And I remember it really, really clearly. I remember exactly where I was sitting. I remember everything, and just the energy that came out of Nyree, I felt, even during that first conversation that we had on the phone, I think you were driving, Nyree, I felt that I'd known Nyree for a long time. We just had the same way of communicating, the same kind of, right, okay, this is the issue, how do we resolve it? Oh no, it's not like that, it's like this. Like, just a really very practical approach to things, and not dogmatic at all. Like, if a 4-year-old can teach you the answer, then that's great, well done, you, great, yeah, what else can you teach me? Not like, oh well, you haven't been working in the field for 20 years, so I can't listen to you. It's like, no, if someone's got an idea, that's great, let's have it, let's see what you've got. And then I remember Nyree saying to me, so what are you cooking tonight? And I told her what I was cooking, and then I had to rush off and go shopping. But that was the start of it, and that first telephone conversation just really sticks in my mind.
Same with me, absolutely. I remember that, and I don't know where you were sitting, but I know that you were sitting at a pool, beside a pool in the south of France, and in my mind, I know exactly what it looks like. Like, you are under a tree on some grass, 4 feet away from the pool that was gleaming blue, and it was glittering. And every time you turned your head, it would just bling, glitter.
Yeah.
Seeing all of this.
That and the sound of helicopters. The south of France is a lot of helicopters, so you can tell when it's nearly lunchtime, because you can hear the helicopters just constantly going to the beach. And it's all well and good until you put your washing out on the line and the helicopters blow all the washing off at the line into the swimming pool, and then you're like, this is not funny anymore. But yes, that's south of France life.
I reached out to Rachel because right before there was an article, I feel like it was in the New York Times, and it was about Mona. Mona, who is she's the dietitian for Liverpool. And so there was this article about the changes that she made in Liverpool in order to get the team to where they are. And it was all about the nutritionists. And to put that in the New York Times, that's a big deal. And quite frankly, I'm waiting for my phone call, just saying. So I think they made the wrong decision, but I'll wait. It's okay. Yeah. So Mona was in the New York Times, and she was getting a lot of press around here. Then other, the Associated Press was picking it up. It was being posted everywhere. So I tried to get to the bottom of this, and Rachel was part of that puzzle. Like, Rachel was in Mona's world, and I reached out to her, and we connected immediately. I mean, a year later, she was in the United States visiting for a conference she was here for Unilever, if I remember correctly. And she spent a night at my house. We toured the Flyers training center. We toured the Union training center and the 76ers training center. Yeah. And we had a blast, and we ate cheesesteaks. Yes, we did. So we did the whole thing when we were here, and she spent the night at my house. She's met all my kids. And then I took my kids to France for their 16th birthdays, which now they're 18. Oh my gosh. So for their 16th birthday, I took my twin girls to France, and Rachel met us there. And of course, what she did is she opened our world into a whole other dimension. We ate at a restaurant that is in the complete black, dark. Yeah. So we weren't blindfolded, but you could not see your hand in front of your face, and you had to find your food, and then you had to guess what was your meal. by the end of it. You didn't know what you were eating. You had no idea. This plate would come and so there's a few things that I learned about this experience. Wait, do you really want me to go into this, Cam? This is too much. Okay, I'll stop. I will say that it was a very amazing experience. And if anybody has an opportunity to do it, there is a restaurant like this in New York City. And we learned a lot about ourselves, and we learned a lot about the life of a blind person. And it was fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how we know each other. And our relationship has only grown over time. And now Rachel does have a courtesy appointment, and so does Becky in the Department of Nutrition Sciences. Okay.
For which, and everyone here in the UK is so impressed about that. First of all, people say to me, have you changed career? Are you now nursing? And it's like, no. And then I explain to them what it is, and they're like, wow. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so our pause was really here about for everybody in our audience. Do you understand the breadth of what's going on here? And is there anything that we can discuss or clarify right now? I just want you to take a minute and think about it. In the performance world, there's a strength and conditioning person, there's a sports scientist, there's a coach, and there's a nutritionist, and there's a private chef, and there's a massage therapist. But what we're trying to do is make these things interface. How do we interface and make it a valuable experience that's holistic? And how do we then translate this so that the future of sports nutrition, the future of performance chef embraces this, so that's the way that they do it from here on out? That's what we want to create. And that was our mission. Right, Rachel?
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And you just saying that the way, listing all the contacts, all the people feeding into, I can't do this, but all the people feeding into the individual athlete. We've all got different pieces of the puzzle. We all understand different things about the individual athlete. And in medicine, they'll have case conferences. If you've got a patient who's got multiple issues, say they're pregnant and have high blood pressure and are bipolar and this and that, there will be case conferences about that individual to see how everything is interacting for them. And yet we don't really have this for elite athletes. We have everyone with their own little piece. And the time when we can really discuss an athlete and really work together for the absolute best interests are all the conversations that a nutritionist will have with the chef, to see, especially a private chef, to see what is really going on, what is going on at home. Are they relaxed? Is life easy for them? Are they stressed? Are they taking their stress out in terms of undereating, overeating, sleeping poorly? What is going on? And I think it's only really probably the private chef and the masseuse who really have a kind of intimate relationship with the athlete. And intimate's often considered to mean something sexual. This doesn't mean sexual at all, just a really close understanding of the individual. When they're away from the team, they haven't got the bravado and the team ethos. They're just an individual standing or sitting in front of you. Who are they? What do they want? What do they need? And listening to them. That is really the biggest thing I've taken away from working with all these super high profile people. Everybody wants a piece of them. Their images everywhere. Everyone knows this person. If they walk down the street, they will be hassled. People come up to them. But during the course of a day, during the course of the week, it's highly likely that no one will actually listen to them. No one will actually ask them what they want, what they need, and how you can help them get that. Everyone wants something from them. They're being told, do this, do that. Do this, da 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 da. No one is asking anything, asking their feelings, their opinions, what they need. No one. It's the nutritionist, it's the chef, it's the masseuse who probably have that close, non kind of teamy contact with them as an individual. And so we are in very important positions.
I completely agree with you. And one of the things that what the private chef can do is, you know, in football, they talk about number of touches. So it's the same thing. It's the number of touches through the day. And we want to control those number of touches when it comes to food. We want to be able to control their food touches. So we're offering a breakfast and a lunch at the training center and perhaps a snack. Oh, let's just go with breakfast and lunch. That means that snack, dinner, after dinner snack are all managed at home, which means that our touches are less than 50% of the day. We want to increase our percentage of touches with the athletes when it comes to food. So we want someone to control meal number 3, snack number 4. And the more that we have control over that, then we are setting them up for better success. So the 2 touches at the training center, they're just not enough touches. We need to extend that into the evening, because 50% of anything, you know, you wouldn't play the odds on 50%. Maybe you would. I wouldn't. I like 99%, quite frankly, to play the odds. But some people do play the 20% odds. I don't know what they are with, like, roulette or whatever. What is this?
Craps.
Oh, crap. That's what I think.
No, it's crap. Isn't it called craps in the States?
Crap again. Oh, crap.
No, it's called craps in the States.
Why else would you call
Get
it?
dice.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to move back into this. I'm going to go back to the presentation. Okay. So one of the things that we had, oh, is this correct? What do you all see? Just, okay.
It's in presenter mode.
I thought so. I don't know why it's not in presenter mode on one of my screens. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go do this one more time.
I think there's a button to just flip the, yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, so we wanted to put together a list of training modules because we knew we were traveling there. We knew that we had an immersion experience that we wanted. We knew that we wanted to tackle immersion. We wanted to tackle global. Now we need to tackle didactic. What were the didactic aspects of what we were going to be learning when we were in Rachel's world? So we wanted to talk about, how do you talk with athletes to convince them to make better choices at restaurants? How do you deal with jet lag, traveling athletes? Well, in the United Kingdom, one of the things that is interesting is that that's not as big of an issue as it is in the United States. The MLS or any of the other teams are playing coast to coast. In the United Kingdom, unless they're playing in the Champions League, then they are playing within the United Kingdom. And so it's really a hop and skip away, and they're back at night and eating dinner and sleeping at home. We wanted to talk about, what does the Chelsea fueling station look like? And I'm bringing that in here because, of course, we visited Chelsea. And one of the things that students wanted to know, or we really wanted to tackle, actually, we had a great presentation. And I'm going to introduce Dr. Eric Zilmer. He's here too, about the holistic care of athletes and what side of care should we all be on? Should we be on preventative? What should be the emphasis, preventative or post-injury? And who lines up in this holistic care in the preventative zone, and who lines up in the healing zone? And nutrition and performance chef are in both. And so I think that's really important to know when you're building a team. And then we're talking about the relationship between alcohol and sport, because, you know, that's an issue everywhere. And we just really wanted to tackle, how do you approach it? Because we're not going to eliminate it, but the skills to approach it and make it work so that a professional athlete can still perform where they need to perform. Okay. So we arrive, Becky picks us up, and the first thing we need to do, of course, is take care of our chef. So here's Rachel. We got to stop at an excellent French restaurant. It was lovely. We had a great afternoon here, and Rachel got to do all of our ordering and set us up for a great way to start our...
You did the ordering, Nyree. You ordered.
I know. I usually do, but Rachel, just go with it.
Okay, I ordered.
listen, I study menus. Like, this is what I do. I just love, love, love ordering. It's really one of my favorite things in the world to do. And then not eat at all, just order. Okay, so we land in the United Kingdom. We land in London, and we head out towards Salisbury. So this is the Salisbury Cathedral. I don't know if you know about this or you've heard about Salisbury. You know, there is a copy of the Magna Carta here, right, Rachel? A version of the Magna Carta.
Round back from there is a copy of the Magna Carta. Yeah, and also
Salisbury,
I learned back in March that the footings, the foundations for Salisbury Cathedral are 4 foot deep. There's huge structure
supported by
four.
One more reason to not take the tour to the top of the tower. Just putting it out there. So do not take the tour to the top of the tower. I've been told that there is a YouTube tour that goes to the top. And if you are wheezy at all about heights, don't even do the YouTube tour.
Yeah.
However, this is the cathedral that I don't know if you've ever read the book by Ken Follett, Pillars of the Earth. Really top book, top notch. It's in my library always. I lend it out. And you know that one book that you put your name in and you're like, it better come back to me? That's one of those books. Yeah, I've read it more than once. And to be like next to this was just amazing. Yeah.
Let me just butt in. I didn't realize you were a Ken Follett fan. I once worked on the private island and where he has a home, and he has the house next door to the client where I was cooking on a private island in Antigua.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice guy.
Tell him good job. Yeah, he's quite a writer.
Yeah.
So then we go in and we dive in, you know, we don't jump into having the normal food. We go right for the canapes for that evening, had a lovely time. And the very first morning, this is where, bam, we hit the floor running. Immersion. So we do a case study of an athlete. What does this athlete eat? What do they want to eat? What are their nutrition concerns? And we put all this together. And I'm going to let the talking now, I'm gonna push this over to Kelsey. So Kelsey can talk about our case study discussion, and then how did we do the grocery shopping, etc. Kelsey, you want to take over here?
Yeah, sure. So this was honestly probably one of my favorite days because it was we got to see every side of things and every piece of, you know, it was all smushed into one day, but we woke up early in the morning, we all met in the hotel lobby and just talked about, you know, made up this pretend athlete and what were his likes, what were his dislikes. I think we said he was recovering from an injury, so he wasn't playing currently. So, you know, how does that affect his needs, right? So us as dietitians, we determine, you know, his calorie needs might be a little bit lower than they would be if he was training. His carbohydrate needs might be a little bit lower than they would be if he was training. All of these things that come into play when we have a real athlete that we're working with that is injured, because that happens a lot. So we touched on that side of things. Then Rachel and Becky were part of this discussion, obviously, and they showed us some insight into what that looks like from their end. So we just walked through the whole process. And from their end, it was super interesting to learn that you know, they have the discussion with the athlete of what are your likes and dislikes? Tell me about foods that you like. Tell me about foods that you don't like. And then they have a separate discussion with the dietitian to really just say, okay, so now I know what his likes are or her likes are. I know what he doesn't like. I know what she absolutely cannot even set her eyes on. And how do you see this playing out? What are their needs? And we really just, you know, had that discussion, and communication is a really important part of this whole thing to determine what the menu is going to look like. And so, Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, you know, you've had clients in the past where you only cook one meal a day for them, or you have clients where you cook every single meal for them, right? So
Yeah.
I forget exactly what we determined for this athlete, but a lot of things come into play because it may not just be the athlete as well. It might be his or her spouse. There might be kids involved, and it might be cooking for the whole family. And how do you accommodate that and, you know, make everyone happy? So Rachel, are there instances where you're cooking like one specific meal for the athlete and then a different meal for the rest of their family? Or do you always kind of make it work so that the needs are being met for the athlete, but then it's also accommodating the needs and wants of the family?
Usually it's, if people do want different things, so athletes who might be trying to gain weight, athlete who might have all sorts of criteria, might have huge calorific demands, might be partnered with someone who wants to get into the size 0 dresses, or someone who's pregnant, or someone who's recently given birth who also wants to get back into the size 0 dresses. So yes, we do quite often have a lot of different body composition eaters, and those people with whatever body composition they've got might want to have a slightly different body composition from what they've currently got. So you might have might have a lot of dynamics going on there. So usually what we do in that case is try and get people to generally agree on a protein and a sauce, and then from there, if somebody wants to have a salad with that, and somebody else wants to have couscous with that, and somebody else wants to have whatever, then we've got some areas of common ground. So say the vegetables would be common, or the salad would be common. It's just mostly the sizes of the portions for the protein would be different, and whether there was a carb or not to go with that would be different. So for the athlete, in that case, what we generally do is we plate up what they are supposed to be eating according to their dietitian, according to their nutritionist, and then other plates will be cooked. So say their partner who's wanting to be in the size 0 dress just wants to have a salad. Okay, so we do a big salad, put that in the middle of the table, and then put up an empty plate in front of the partner so they can serve what they want from the salad. But then it's also encouraged for the athletes to eat some of that salad too, because that's not going to interfere with any of their macros, not greatly. So, and it's more nutrition for them. So good, great, have it. But then also for the athletes, as long as they don't have huge body composition issues, we will say do more of everything, more of the protein. So even though they've plated up, put everything on a plate in front of the athlete for them to eat, their plate for them to eat, we will also do extra protein in case they want extra protein. We will do extra carbs, and we will always do extra vegetables so that they have in front of them what they're supposed to eat. But if they want more, then they can, because, you know, we're not running a prison. It is about enjoying your food. Some days you are hungrier than others. Great. We're not going to tell you you can't eat more of this really well prepared fresh food. Go ahead. So that's normally how we run it. So it's kind of like almost like when you sit down to Thanksgiving dinner and you have everything in front of you in the middle of the table, only everything is really nutrient dense rather than being calorie dense as it would be on Thanksgiving. So it's like that.
Yeah, that's the perfect answer. So I will agree with you that you definitely are not running a prison there, because if you only saw, Nyree, I think you might have some pictures, if you only saw the food that we then made for our pretend athlete, who ended up being all of us because we got to eat and enjoy it. We went to the grocery store, we bought everything that we needed for our pretend athlete. We cooked it in this kitchen at I forget which soccer club it was. Salisbury soccer, football. So, oops, my fault. Football club. I knew it was bound to happen. And then we got to eat it and enjoy it. And it was quite the recipes that Rachel and Becky kind of put together offhand. And we experienced the entire process from the athlete's perspective and from both sides of the chef's perspective and the dietitian's perspective. So it's fantastic. And that's a couple pictures of us doing the dirty work there.
What happens
And
if
broccoli,
there's
broccoli,
disagreement,
Rob.
Rachel? What happens if there's disagreement between the dietitian and the chef? How do you guys figure that one out?
Well, there aren't ever any disagreements between the dietitian and the chef. That's not the stumbling block. Because if a dietitian were to say to me, I want my athlete to eat 4 kilos of broccoli a day, I go, great, I can make that happen. Well, I can't actually put it in the athlete's mouth. I can put it in front of the athlete in a way that's really attractive. I'm not going to argue with the dietitian and go, well, that's ridiculous. Do you realize that the Paris Saint-Germain, for example, their dietitian is saying this and that? I'm not going to say that because that's not my job. And whatever a dietitian tells me, I will do my level best to make certain that the athlete eats that in a way that the athlete is going to enjoy eating it, which does involve a certain amount of disguising and a certain amount of manipulation. But you tell them up front, you tell the athlete up front, if you want mayonnaise with that, that's great. It's going to be half mayonnaise and half yogurt. That is the deal. And so they know that you're going to mess about with their food, but they know it's for their common good.
This is Rachel's world.
That is my world.
So this is actually a one of the whiteboards that were in Chelsea Stadium. So this is what they told, I guess, the players one day to do. This is like the dietitian telling working with the chef. Okay, so it could be chaos. I don't know what this was all about, but I took this photo in the Chelsea Stadium and it was on their whiteboard. And to me, it meant this is what the kitchen looks like at times, right, Rachel?
Yeah.
It must. So we all extend into all of these things. This was some of the food that we made. And then we sat down and we had a great meal. And then we had this laboratory of learning. So it went beyond the kitchen. And I'm going to let, Stephanie, do you see Stephanie here? Steph, do you want to talk a little bit about this? What we talked about here and this whole laboratory of learning, what it was really about?
Sure. So this was really
Alex
great.
here? Is Alex here too? Okay.
So
Go
this
ahead,
is
Steph,
a
sorry.
really great way to talk about how we can collaborate with all these different health professionals in relation to the athlete. So it gave us a chance to talk about what are our needs as athletes of our athletes and how do we play in there? How do sports psychologists play in there? How do the physical therapists play into that? And what is the most important thing that we can address with those athletes? So we kind of took what the athlete needs and where that health professional falls into. And it was just really eye-opening to see how many different areas are actually important, where we think like, oh, they just need the chef to cook for them. But really it's deeper than that. Like Rachel was saying, like there's only a couple people that really know them very, very well. So trying to get in touch with those individuals to see what is the main focus of this athlete and how we can collaborate more to meet those needs of the athlete on a deeper level. You know, why are they struggling at practice? Is it because, they had a disagreement at home? Is it because they just aren't feeling well? What are those reasons? So it's really important that we can contribute with all of those health professionals to meet those needs of the individual.
Yeah, thanks, Steph. And I think that some of the things that we pointed out in this exercise was, here are all the elements, right? And we got to decide what is considered. On the left, you'll see like the high performance column, meaning preventative, and then what is the reactive portion, which was our column. So this doesn't mean anything. This means that we were playing around. This might not even be our final decision. We were still like mixing and matching here. But the idea is, if these are all the people, all the different areas that are involved in total sports science, or what do you consider high performance? where does this all fit? Eric, are you here? Do you guys see
Yeah,
Eric?
of course.
Can you talk a little bit about this, because this was your arena?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Another great forum. Thank you, Cameron, for putting this on. Yeah, first of all, I think what you're doing is fantastic, going into the field, if I look at this as an athletic administrator, we're very suspicious of people who don't understand athletic culture. I'll give you an example. Like, there's all these people working in concussions, but they're all like, laboratory smart, but they're not street smart. So when you're dealing with a concussed athlete, it's really complex. And it's easy to say you can't play, but it's really hard to say you can play. I think the same is true for the food transfer, what you learn in the classroom. And I think the reason why this is so much more in athletics than maybe in other industries is because you will have a high performance in athletics when you're really cohesive as a team. They put on the same jersey, they put on the same color. Cameron knows this from forging a boat. So by making something so cohesive for everybody's relying on each other, you are making everybody else be far away. Terrorists do this. They do like within group love, outside group hate, they call it. We call it as psychologists. So that's why I think it's so important to go into England, to go to the tip of the spear, which is Rachel, and to understand this transfer of knowledge from the classroom, or would you say from the farm, into the laboratory, into the pitch, right? Into the soccer world, football world. So this is what we do at Drexel. Everybody knows that, learning by doing. But in sports, it's so transformational. So I respect that very much. And I think, Nyree, that's actually one of your talents, because otherwise the Flyers or the Union or USA Field Hockey, they wouldn't hire you to do what you do. You do an amazing job with that. And what you see on this slide is, as a sports psychologist, I see everybody around the athlete either as trying to enhance their ability to perform, or they're trying to recover the athletes to where they were before. And so it's interesting, like in the past, it's always been athletic trainers, sports physicians who really were around the athlete. And if you think about them, they're really only involved if they're injured. So a lot of things that you see on the left side, sports psychology, food delivery, strength conditioning, they're actually much more interested in trying to make the athlete perform at their best ability. Both are, of course, important. What I think so interesting, Nyree, is that for nutrition, sports nutrition, you have both the performance aspect, like your Dragon gels, they create, energy, cognitive focus. And then on the other side, you also have recovery. You're trying to get the athlete back to where they were, and so they can function. So great job. I'll leave it at that. I hope that helps a little bit. It's interesting. We're very suspicious about people who don't understand the culture of sports. We will not hire those people. And in sports, everybody is connected, and that's why I appreciate you reaching out to Rachel, and now Rachel's in our network, and so that is so important in athletics. It shouldn't be like that, but if you just, apply to a job and nobody knows you in athletics, it's tough, so I think what you're doing is to go into the field with your students. That's a great way of not only learning, but also getting to know where you fit into this incredible, laboratory of learning, which is the world of sports, which we all love. Thank you for asking me to contribute.
Thanks, Dr. Zolmer. That was awesome. That's exactly, we fell in love with this experience. So moving forward, beyond, okay, so now there's extending our classroom. So beyond the classroom, boy, we bonded. Okay, so how many Drexel students or Drexel people can you get into a phone booth? That was one of our experience. We had a great time doing that. And of course we had to see the London Eye. I didn't go in this, everybody else did, and they had a lovely time. And what would it be like to be in the UK without a proper tea? So everybody got to go and experience a tea at, I forget the museum, but a museum.
Nyree, I don't think
the National Portrait Gallery.
What are you saying?
The National Portrait Gallery up at the top in the bar.
That's where we had the tea, but Nyree, I don't think your slides are advancing.
Got it.
It's just me.
Okay, give me a second. Let me see what's happening. Yeah, it looks like my computer's a little frozen here. Sorry, I'm going to disconnect it. I really apologize. Kelsey, do you have?
Yeah, I was just about to pull it up. Hold on.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not pulling it up. I'm sorry.
Give me 1 second. I'm just pulling it up.
I do think, as you're pulling that up, Kelsey, the interesting thing that comes to mind here, and Dr. Zuma, you mentioned it, just in terms of common language. I think building trust within anybody coming into a network, and particularly in the sport world, how important common language is to build trust. And I think that's a question that's come up from a bunch of the folks on the call of how do you guys build trust? How do you build that buy-in across different elements, whether it's the chef to the athlete, the dietitian, sport performer, just the entire sort of non-on-field staff. How do you create that common language so that there is common understanding, but also you build trust? And Rachel,
I'm gonna answer this for a second, because I really do believe that there is something to be said about having these skills inherently. I don't think that they can all be learned. I think that people can work on those skills, but it's something that you almost have or have to know that you don't have, so that you can then work on those skills. There is a heck of a lot of, I know this term is always bounced around, emotional intelligence, but it's the truth. You need to know when not to talk. You need to know when to talk. You need to know when you push too far and when you should not push far. And, that comes down to your gut, and it's instinctual. And, there are people that you have you don't get into this world without having some of that. Okay. Unless you're in analytics. So
I love that. I love that, Nyree, because I think so often what that's described as are soft skills, and I think they're not soft skills at all. They're actually, in our world, they're essential skills. So I think if you don't have that awareness, it's very difficult. Rachel.
So in I nearly said soccer then. In football in the UK, there are two phrases that are used again and again and again. One of them is teamwork makes the dream work. I would just say that all the time, like, someone picks something up for you, someone does this for you, someone comes up with a great idea. Teamwork makes the dream work. We say it all the time. The other thing is, and this takes a bit of concentrating, is, and it's said, like for professionals talking to athletes, it is, they don't care what you know until they know that you care. And for me, that's all about just not being the know-it-all, being vulnerable, listening to people, saying, I don't know that. I know someone who will know, or I don't know that, let's Google it. Just being like, what have you got to give me? Not like I need you to give me things, but like what information have you got to give me? And then I'll do what I can with it. It's like playing pass the parcel. I'll try and improve that. I'll try and do what I can with that. And then I can pass it on to someone else. Not because I don't want to take responsibility, but because it's a team effort. Like someone passes some information to me, I improve it. I add what I can to it. I pass it on to someone else. It's this constant flow, and the not needing to know it all, not needing to do it all. There's always someone there to help you, and I'm always here to help someone else. It's just that, like relaxed, minimizing your ego. Like, what have you got? How's it going for you? What do you know? What happened at your old club? How did that work? Was that good? Oh, that's a great idea. Let me get on the phone to that person. It's that. That's how I think you build trust, by just keeping your defenses way, way, way down.
It's 7 o'clock. So I'm going to kind of move forward a little bit. Why isn't this moving again? Did you see? It's not moving again, and it just was. Ugh.
You want me to share mine?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I don't
Definitely
even
looks like a lovely evening there, Nyree, with a cup of tea there. I think I could almost taste the tea as I see
That
that
was
video.
fantastic. The little, like just the little sandwiches and everything that they had. So good. Okay. Sorry. This
All right.
is
Yeah.
loading.
Kelsey, go forward a little bit. I wanna pick up with
Here you go.
yeah, go a little more
Yeah.
forward. I'm just gonna blow past some of these. We did Chelsea. We went grocery shopping again at very luxurious places. I would like to end up here, Kelsey, forward at
Oh, yeah.
Southampton.
Oh yeah, the football match.
Yeah. So the highlight of all of this is, here we are now at a match in Southampton, not far from where we've been practicing, emerging, being a part of the culture. And we are now seeing players on the field who are experiencing the nutrition and really just being a part of it. So the point here is that's where we want to get. We want to make an impact here at this moment. This is the most important moment, but you can't prepare for this moment game day. You prepare for this moment throughout the season. So, we had the best time there. We got this sticker, come on Reds, right? and my most favorite birthday gift of all, which is this flag, which is signed by everybody who was on our trip, and they gave this to me the last night. So we and I don't know if you saw, but at one point this season, Southampton was in first place. So I'm just saying we're pretty darn good.
And they're currently fourth.
And they're currently fourth above Chelsea. Just saying.
Yeah, I believe so. Becky is the Southampton fan. I'm just going to check and see where they do like. But last night they were fourth, which is a miracle.
I proved that because I looked it up today, and somewhere in these slides that they are number 4 and Chelsea is number 5. So, okay. So that means it's nutrition. So at the end of the day, it means it's nutrition. Okay. Thank you so much. I don't know if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask at this point, but we don't want to hold everybody up.
No, because you've got birthday parties to do.
I have a party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I couldn't have a drink with you on your birthday last year, so cheers.
Oh, cheers. Thank you, Kelsey.
Very good.
Cheers.
Very
I've
much
got tea.
happy
Cheers.
birthday, Nyree. Absolutely. This is the first time in 36 webinars we've done a 3-part series, and I can't believe I'm saying after 3 hours we need more time. So we might have to get you guys back to keep this conversation going, because there's about 20 other questions that I have here, and I want to end it with this one because I think for many this is the never-ending question of how do you guys manage the question of the next fad diet when an athlete comes and says, I'm going to take all of this out of my diet, whether it's protein, carbs, food in general, and they're just going to drink water. What's the best advice for the silver bullet? And we'll probably end it up on that. Rachel, why don't you go first, and then Nyree, you can close us out.
Okay. When I only just heard the word Netflix there, because I'm not a very television-y person, because I'm working most evenings. Anyway, so there was something called Game Changers came out, and I heard this word everywhere all the time. And I was like, what is this Game Changers? What is it? And then I realized what it was. It's a documentary about being vegan and how if you're vegan, then you can conquer the entire universe. And so as a result of this, we had lots of players who became vegan or were vegan on, vegan Monday to Friday and whatever. They were vegan or for part of the week or had vegan meals or plant-based meals. And you know what we decided, and lots of the nutritionists who were in charge of these players were literally tearing their hair out, going, this is really not working. And it's like, no, let's not fight it, let's just go with it. Because eventually they will either decide that they are vegan, or they will decide they're an omnivore, or they will decide that it will run its course. So that's what we do. We let it run its course, and we're constantly there with the help and the guidance of a more more broader base to nutrition. So there's never any wagging of fingers, there's never any I told you so. It's just like, okay, you want to run this course, you run this course. When you finish running this course, we are going to carry on with the message, the constant message that we have always had. We're not going to fight you, but we're not going to bend what we believe in. So that, you know, if you genuinely want to be vegan for whatever reason, then great, you be it, but we're still going to keep on with our advice, and we're going to modify, you know, we're going to try and find the middle ground. But eventually everyone, well, some people are pescatarian, some people are vegetarian, but very, very few people are genuinely vegan, because they feel it, they feel they miss it in their body, they miss it in their mouths, they miss it emotionally, they miss dairy, they miss eggs.
I think, Rachel, one of the things that you've said over and over again is, A, that you take the time to listen to the athlete, and B, you have this vast experience to be able to find different ways to say, if Cam likes fried food, I'm not going to give him fried food, although he might think he's eating fried food. And if you don't develop the trust in the first place, you're not able to A, be able to listen to what the athlete is asking for, and B, figure out the right way through to that. So yeah, I can't thank you enough. Nyree, final word to you, and then we'll let those that need to go and have a glass of wine go and have a glass of wine, and those that need to go off to their next meeting, off to their next meeting. So
I'm going to keep it really brief. I'm just going to say that, yes, we go through all of these cycles. We hear it all. There's always something new. There's always something trendy. And at the end of the day, I'm not new and I'm not trendy. And I will always stick with what the truth is that's evidence-based. And I think that's the most important thing. But I will never make somebody feel bad, I guess, about what they're hearing. So Game Changers is a great example. Rachel, Game Changers was a big one. It was brought up to me constantly. And my response was, let's try one meal a day. Okay. You don't have to game change at all. And you travel a lot. And there is one thing that I truly live by. A professional athlete cannot have a lot of digestion problems or problems in general, because they need to go with the flow. They need to eat the food that's there, that's being provided to them. And if they don't eat the food that's there, they're harming themselves to play their highest performance. I recently put this post on. I don't know if you guys can see, I don't know where my camera is right here. I don't know if you can see this, but quite frankly, this is really what I believe in. My digestive tract, I believe, and so what I tell my athletes is, you need to have a genetically superior digestive tract to play in the pros. You can't be a problem. Okay. So, but if you want to be a vegan, then you need to bring a chef. If you can bring your chef, then you can be a very good vegan. But if you're going to only eat the rice because that's all you can eat off of the buffet that night, you're going to harm yourself. And then you're going to harm the team because you're harming yourself. So I say, develop that GI tract, have the top of the line one like mine. It's like the gold standard. No, so try it, because you need to go, it's flexibility, and that gives you flexibility. And I might be totally wrong. I take.
Well,
I completely agree. I'm fortunate in that I can sleep anywhere. I can eat anything. There are things I like more than other things. I can eat anything. I can sleep anywhere. I can travel for 24 hours a day. I don't like it. I can do it. And I think that's why I have a job, a career where I've God knows how many times I've gone around the globe. In the last 4 months, I've done 8,000 miles in my car. You know, it's just, you know, and if I had to eat, you know, rose petals on a Monday and only drink certain coffees from certain plants in certain whatevers, I couldn't have this life. I'd be, you know, controlling everything. I can't control anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best advice for all of us, probably in almost all our areas of life of living in a global pandemic, how important flexibility is, and make the best of a situation. So hate to wrap this up because I think this could continue on with Nyree, another glass of wine. But again, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Rachel, thank you so much because
Happy
it is
birthday.
very late at night for you over in the UK as
Yes,
well.
It is.
Rachel.
And thank you all very much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.